take it from you and give it to you under the law.
And it's the only water district in the state that has that ability.
Well, that brings me to a question that someone of the audience asked, which kind of fits in. How many cases of eminent domain have been associated with this project? So
3. We've used it. We're in 3 right now. I think we've had about 80 purchases that have been voluntary, and we've got 3 that are in condemnation. I see one of our lawyers out there. I think that's right.
Now, what are the reasons for that, in terms of why you've gone ahead with eminent domain in those cases?
Because they were parcels that were the bypass channel. And of course, if the landowner doesn't accept the commissioner's award, then they have a right to appeal that to district court. That's what's happening.
Anybody else know something?
Just on eminent domain, let me say that I think it's, in practice, it's perverting the Constitution to say it can be taken for public use, but not for public purposes. I mean, it doesn't say not for public, it says for public use. To take it for public purposes for economic development, to take your land and give it to somebody else because we think they'll do a better job with it, I don't believe that's constitutional. I'm very
The Kelo decision in Connecticut really changed the whole eminent domain picture, and it has now just really opened the floodgates for eminent domain, and even Governor Perry, I think, vetoed the first eminent domain bill he done about 4 years ago to protect the Trans-Texas corridor, which would have had to take a great deal of public land. And so I'm not blaming Governor Perry or TRWD, either one, but I say this is becoming a common practice now to take people's land. That's one of our dearest constitutional rights.
Well, I agree with you. I think that's people that really experience it. But as far as the Supreme Court made that decision, folks, you know, that's the best I can tell. They're the ones that are writing the law. You're not going to live that.
My question is, do we think that this project, the Trinity River Vision, is in essence sucking up all the federal flood control funding in this area?
No.
Okay.
Y'all got to look at Dallas.
Well, we're never going to have all federal funding, but I would point out that when this thing first came up, it had a 1% inflation built into it. And then the subsequent, I think it was the $435 million project, had a $72 million cushion. And those were accounting for inflation too. And it just keeps on going up. And as an example, the cleanup for the whole 800-acre area was estimated to be $22 million when the project originated, and then a subsequent estimate on just one property alone went up to $43 million. And so I think that's why it's so difficult to really put your arms around the total cost of the thing. And if it only brings in $1 billion in tax base and it costs us $3 billion, it's like an upside down on the car. Wouldn't do it.
It's hard to know what exactly is sucking up the federal funds, but it certainly is a pet project compared to others. All you have to do is look at places like Haltom City, which have flooded again and again and again for the past 20 years, or even today, these rain showers we've had after a long drought, portions of Arlington, that apartment complex we all see on TV, back underwater again. So I know that both of those areas have applied for federal funding. I know that both of those areas have U.S. Army Corps of Engineering studies that can have continued, and I know that this particular project has fast-tracked more than any other in Texas. So I don't know that the funds necessarily are being allocated, but I would say that the focus may be on it.
You know, I asked that question because I talked with some of the people out there when the flooding occurred in Haltom City, and I went back and it was provided to me, and I was surprised to find out that when the water district was originally created, Haltom City and a number of other cities opted out of it. So people are saying, why doesn't the Tarrant Regional Water District do something about the flooding in Haltom City? We can't. We have no authority, and we'd be illegally spending money in an area that's not in the district. They chose not to do this.
Or
Well, the court study, I'm addressing the issue that always comes to us as to why doesn't the water district do something about it?
Well,
And we
then,
can't.
well, this is a question I've always had to Jim, which is, the water district won't do flood control in those areas, and I completely understand, and I get that.
It's not a matter of law,
But you're able to sell water in 11 counties. So,
by contract.
okay, so you
And by
couldn't
statute.
contract to do flood control.
Well, I don't know about contracted to do flood control. We're talking about in the district. That district opted.
Well, I understand, but
Opted
the
not to
11
be-
counties didn't vote into the district either. That's my question. I don't understand how you can do one part of what the district was designed to do, but not the other. I completely agree that you shouldn't be doing it in places in our district, but I never understood that.
Answer the question, I don't know about federal dollars. I saw a study that the Corps had done about 3 or 4 years ago, and I had 4 pages of the levees in the United States that were at risk. There were well 200 or 300 within that list, but in there, Tarrant County, Fort Worth is not on the list at all. Whether it's there today or not, I don't know, but there are, in terms of where the dollars are going, there is need. It was demonstrated in that list 3 years ago. It obviously has not been that, you have money going into this project when it was only taken $10 million.
Gene?
Okay, this is from the audience. The soil where the floodgates are to go was just recently tested to see if they would hold. Where and what are the results of those tests?
What was the question again?
The soil where the floodgates.
Use the microphone.
Okay. The soil where the floodgates are to go was just recently tested to see if they would hold. Where and what are the results of those tests?
Can't answer that.
Question with no answer. I'll ask this one. This probably applies to more than just the Trinity River Division project. Why don't we contract with Freese and Nichols and/or the Army Corps of Engineers, and then they subcontract the outside companies who often pass it on, and all take a percentage? Would this be called double brokering or triple brokering?
Well, anytime you deal with federal funds, you're stuck with federal statutes that controls that. I know that's how that works. Let me tell you one thing though that's interesting about this project is 50% of the contracts that have been let so far have gone to MWBE. This is the highest project in the United States, putting money back into the local economy into minority and women-owned businesses, which we won a numerous number of awards for so far.
Well, that's admirable, but I don't think it's really a reason to do $1 billion project to get WBE work, which is minority business enterprise.
That double or triple brokering sounds like a lot like the European value-added tax, where at every stage, not only is there a tax, but a percentage added on to it.
WFAA reported recently that they paid for some water quality tests on the river around where the water, I'm not going to say it correctly, the waterboarding park. Waterboarding is torture. You know what I'm talking about. Park there on the river. Wakeboarding. Wakeboarding. That they did about, I think it was correct that 1 of 4 tests there came back with E. coli parts per million or whatever the measure is that were well above what the EPA considers safe. And they went and asked either the Trinity River Division folks or the Water District folks about what their sampling showed, and they said, well, we haven't done any sampling, but gosh, this fall, after the water board, after the wakeboard park has been in operation, we'll do some testing. Do you think that was responsible, and do you know anything more about the water quality testing there?
Gail, I will tell you that some of the decisions that we've made since I've been on the Tarrant Regional Water District Board, I feel like I've been water board. No, I don't know anything about the exact testing. I remember when they decided to do the what flows down the river, that they Thank